self feels like self needs to rant. Not because I'm angry, because I gotta get it out. So, where's self at? I'm gonna try and do this rant while being compassionate with self and then everybody else, because I don't feel like it was because anyone else is wrong. It was just because different life paths and whatnot, and recognizing all sides. I'm gonna do my best. I'm trying to think of the right words to say there. To where I'm fair to all sides, so it doesn't sound like I'm just complaining, but actually attempting to heal and not just complain. Even though this is like note to self, because I'm trying to heal. And attempting to do this for a very, very long time. It's like I talk about how I was going through experiences and had something come up that assisted me in coming up with a plan to healing. It just, I'm lacking the moral support to get it done. And again, not because anyone's wrong, but because everybody's busy, and that's fine. I get that. Self used to be busy too. And then something stepped in and was like, no. And not because I was doing anything wrong. I had a great business and I was making lots of money, but internally I was empty and I was always meant to be helping people, and that's not what I was doing. And that's what my soul felt pulled to do, so I feel like something higher stepped in and was like, enough of this. I was attempting, I kept telling myself I was helping people, but really I was just enabling people because I wasn't ready to yet sit to know thyself. So now I've done that, but I realize there's still things that I need to get out. I'm struggling with that. And it's like, I'll call the only people that I got left to be like, can I converse with you so I can get through this, and everybody tries to tell me what it is I need to do and where I need to go and how I should do things, and like I get it from their perspective, I understand that, it's just I don't have anybody to actually sit and be present. And it's like, that's okay, because people are busy, and also because like my friends were already called home to the heavens, so I got my family left, and I'm trying to recognize and understand and realize like why it's difficult for them, because I was the baby in the family for most of it, and then I had a little brother like 20 years later who's amazing, but thank the heavens he missed like the hardest parts that I went through, kind of. But I'm finding myself stuck in this place where I know that I need to speak to people or someone and get some help. I need a shaman is what I need, because I feel like what I'm dealing with is more of a spiritual battle at this point than psychological. And it's one and the same when you think about it, and we're just in a place where people are starting to like look into those kind of things. So like I recognize like that's kind of a new trajectory that most people don't even know is a thing. And I feel like when you've gone through lots and lots of trauma in your life, like soul loss is a thing that people don't even discuss yet. And that's something that I went through. My spirit broke and my soul fragmented, and physically during that time what I was doing to myself has depleted my physical body so much that I'm struggling to get up and get going again, and the friends that used to show up to pull me out of that are no longer here in the physical. And then when it comes to family, it hurts them to talk about these things, right? Because I went through a lot. And again, not because anybody was wrong or because they get a little shy. So anyway. Where's they at? Right, about it being difficult to speak to family about things that you've been through. Why? Because I'm gonna say this the right way. Because I want to be compassionate. I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm not gonna go show this to my family anyway. I mean, I might if it comes out correctly, and just be like, here's what I'm going through, and this is why I'm struggling. But it's always easier when you have friends that can show up and kind of pull you out of these things. However, my friends are already in the heavens. So I hung out with people that went through a lot of stuff at a young age and either had issues with substances or people that rode motorcycles. So it's like you end up losing a lot of people that way. And then trauma started to happen to me at a very young age, and I feel I'll get to that part. I feel like we're struggling the most with it. I don't have anybody externally from like immediate family to speak to these days anymore, and it's like I talk about it in other videos and I'm a little worn out by talking about it, but like I went in for help and I was in the hospital for months, and when I got out they had asked me why I was there, which was frustrating in and of itself. And then I finally sat down and like I did my shadow work, which has been taking months, and the fact that they had asked me what I was there for is a little fucking ridiculous. Excuse the language, I'm trying to speak better, but when I talk about these things, it's emotional for me. And it's like not because anybody in my family that was showing up for me was wrong. I needed help, and at the time that was like the best thing that they could do because everybody's busy, and I get that. So again, it's not that I'm angry, I gotta get this out. Sad. I've been to countless places that promised to be able to help that were unable to, whether it be because they're too busy, confirmation, or because they're milking insurance money and they don't actually care about the patients that are in there. And then when you have family that feels like they're unable to protect you or that they've let you down in some kind of way, like I recognized with my father, he was making a lot of money, him and my mother got divorced. My father, although a financial backer, and I'm grateful for that, I'm grateful for that, but being a protector and being present was something that he didn't know how to do, and I can recognize that with him, the reason why is because his father was unable to do that for him. So it's something that I feel that he took on from his father. Granted, his father served in the military, and I feel that back then it was you come home and you don't speak about those things. And it was a really bad time back then. So I can understand, like, for where my father was unable to be a protector. And it's like anytime that I try and have conversation with him, instead of him being present and hearing what I'm saying, he will get angry. And I recognize that because I don't actually know, like I'd like to sit with him and be like, what happened to you, or like when you were growing up that, but I feel like potentially it's because he thinks it emasculates him to admit that maybe he was hurt or that maybe he wasn't there to protect other members of his family when they were children because he was the older one, but it's things that he won't talk about. And this is stuff that I go over in my head all the time, trying to understand like why my father is the way that he is with me. And then, so I've attempted to try and talk to him about some of the things that I've been through and how it's made me feel, whether it's related to him or not, even if it's just things that I've been through, because most of it he doesn't even know because he knows like one or two things, and I get the blame for those things most of the time. And if it's not me, then he'll blame my mom. And then when it comes to her, like she dealt with narcissistic abuse for her whole life too, before my father, during my father, after my father, until she met my stepdad, who was the only man ever in my life that when I was going through things would hit his knees with me and cry with me. So I'm grateful for that man. And now I'm in this place where like I'm trying to heal and like speaking to my mom about things. She's the rescuer type, right? Because I feel that maybe internally she feels like she wasn't able to protect me from some of the things when we were younger kids. And then growing up, because my mom was young, dealing with narcissistic abuse, she rode a motorcycle. She didn't go out and mess around with anybody, but she would always bring me with her. So I started going out with my mom at a very young age. She made me her friend instead of her daughter. For the longest time, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Until I started to grow up a little bit and realize that like I needed the discipline, and I didn't really get that from my mom because she felt like she had to be my best friend my whole life. And I don't know if she felt like she needed to be mine or because she needed that. But like I can see, where things kind of contributed to what made things difficult for me. And again, it's like I want to speak to them about this, but anytime like I try to be like, this is what I'm going through and this is how I'm feeling, I can understand and recognize that there's a part of them that will feel like they let me down or they didn't protect me or they didn't do the right thing. And it's like I'm not even angry about it. And I want to talk about it just to be able to get it out and be like, hey, can we have a conversation? And then be like, oh, you know what, you're right. But, not everybody's wanting, willing, or able to actually sit down to recognize these things. It takes a lot for somebody to sit and be like, so like I get that. And then it was like, trauma started to happen to me at a very young age. When I was about 15, the summer before I went into high school, something really bad happened. That was the same summer that my brother went to college, my older brother. So it was like as soon as that happened, I kind of, my father was married to a woman that did not like kids at all. My mom had just left another guy that also didn't like kids at all, and then something bad happened to me, and then my brother went off to college, and then when I went to therapy and I tried to like, when it first came out between like my mom and my stepdad and told them what happened, like they both hit the knees and cried with me, and then we went to therapy and I tried to like tell my father what happened, and I feel that my father, because he wasn't able to protect me from something that happened to me when I was a younger child, and that could have stemmed from something that happened to somebody else in the family at a very young age. His reaction is it wasn't what you would expect a father's reaction to be to his daughter that goes through something like what I went through. So I felt very like alone and abandoned at that point. Like I just didn't have anywhere to turn. And I started to like rebel and whatnot. Not too bad, but So now I'm in this place like where I want to heal, but like I recognize that like my mom making me her friend, and she feels like she's gotta like always save. So when like I try and speak to her about things, it's always right on the phone, and who else can I call to get my daughter some help? Or when it was really bad and I was a hot fucking mess, excuse the language, it was we gotta get her into a hospital and put her into a place. And then with my father, he can't actually sit to be present. And then with my older brother, he doesn't understand my journey. I felt very abandoned. I started to rebel where when my father would tell him, no, you can't, this isn't good enough or whatever, he would try harder. And for me, like I was the opposite, where I need somebody to be like, you got this anyway, like you're good, you can do this. But I recognize we don't come with a handbook. And so like my brother did really well and became like the overachiever because he had to be. And it's like I'd like to sit with him and kind of talk about the pain from when we were children, but that's a conversation that he refuses to have. And a lot of times when I try and speak to him, one, he can't understand my path. He takes my father's side a lot, not because I feel like there's pain there that maybe he doesn't want to talk about, and I don't want to make assumptions about that. But I also recognize like because my life in the physical looked like a hot mess, it was, and yes, like I was hurting very bad and I didn't know where to turn, and I can recognize the timing of like how it all happened, and it's like I'd love to sit with my family and try and talk about this, but everybody gets so defensive, and it's like my friends are already in the heavens, so I can't go to them, and it's like I was put into a hospital, and I was there for 3 months, and they had asked me why I was there. So like I'm in this place where like I so desperately know that I need to speak to somebody, which is why I kind of do it this way. And again, like I had so I'm trying to heal. It's a work in progress. Doing most of it myself, and it's like I have this plan that like I know would work because I'm not out of my mind or crazy, so I don't need pills. And every time I go into a doctor, they're like, here's a bunch of medication that you gotta take. I'm like, that doesn't help heal anything, that just suppresses what I'm feeling. So it's like, that doesn't work. And then they don't really have I understand why it's difficult when it's somebody in the family that's trying to speak about these things, because the family either gets defensive, feels like they let the person down, or feels like they have to rescue and save them. And what I really just need is somebody to be present, but recognizing too that most people, everybody's busy, or they don't know how to be present because it's just not in their chemical makeup to be able to handle things like that, let alone to hear the pain that their child might have been in. Because it would take them having to actually like sit and be like, yeah, like I could have done more. My father has a bad habit of telling me how ungrateful I am because he's been there financially, but presence is something that he that he lacked. And it's like, I'm trying to work on my forgiveness with that, and I realize, like, I feel like I have to maneuver away for a little bit, which is too, like, why I feel like having a shaman would be beneficial, and kind of maneuvering away for a bit and doing my healing journey, because it becomes difficult when I'm attempting to heal, to have my phone blowing up all the time about stuff that I know I need to get done, and I'm trying to pack up my place. I know I gotta get it done, but I grieve so deeply in that place. And it's like, anytime that I attempted to speak about those things, because one of the people that passed my father just didn't like, even though they were a lot alike. They looked very different. However, the personality when I dated this man the first time and who my father used to be were identical. And it's like, I'm not angry. I get a little frustrated in the fact that my father refuses to admit that, but I get that it would take sitting to know thyself for him to even be able to see it or admit it. But he doesn't even think about, I mean, I'm 40 years old, and I talk about it in other videos, and then I actually had to sit and like realize like how many people I lost in such a short period of time. I talk about my 3 best friends and then my fiance, but then I also lost another friend the same day that my fiance passed, and then the girl that I brought the memorial bike from, that was for my fiance after he passed. She passed not long after, and then 2 more passed after that. And my uncle. This is all just in a short amount of time. It's like, I've attempted to talk to my father, and I was like, you know, at 34 years old, I had already lost all the people that I could sit and reminisce about my childhood with. They were gone. And I'll just get like, oh, well, you just gotta get over it response. I don't just want to suck it up anymore, and I don't want to take anything to just go numb. I don't want to suppress everything. Like, I'm doing everything I can to get through this, but I got nowhere to turn to like talk to anybody that can just be present and hear me. And it's like, I understand like why it's not easy. All that I have left is like family, and it's hard for family to listen to these things, you know. And I'm exhausted of having the finger pointed at me, like, oh, you were the rebel and you made bad decisions. And it's like, yeah, but my soul was hurting. You know, and then you say that, and it's like, they don't want to hear that. Because then they either feel like they did something wrong, or that they gotta save you and rescue you, or that they can, here's some money, just suck it up and deal with it, or go anywhere else and find help. And it's like, I know that that's what I need to do. I just haven't dragged my feet on it. days are better than others. Confirmation. It's hard not to be able to talk to your family about this stuff though, right? And it's like I get it and I understand. It's also not fair to them, you know? It's like I know I gotta get up and I gotta get going again. It's been difficult, you know, when your spirit breaks and you've been through so much your whole life and then you don't have anybody to turn to and your family doesn't understand and you're going through an awakening that you don't really know how to explain to anybody. You know, it's like for some of that time, like I did really good for like a decade. I was in solitude for quite a while. When I started to lose my friends, I just disconnected. And then it was like 3 years of total isolation, and 2 of those years really where I just wasn't very good to myself. I stayed in bed like all day, every day. I wouldn't even open my door for months. Not even like just to go get the mail, which was just down the stairs. But I worked out of my house, so like I didn't need to. And at that point, the business was already failing. I just didn't have any fight left in me. And it's like I want to get up, I want to get going, and it's like now I have a reason to. You know, like I sat and I was able to really know thyself and trying to do the inner work. It's like I talk about my vision board and things like that a lot. And I'll show the people and nobody knows what it is. It's like I get it, because you gotta kind of be able to like, you gotta look into a few things to actually like see what it is or how to read it properly. And I also don't like feel sorry for myself anymore, but at the same time I'm like, self, you went through a lot. And it's like I don't want to use that as an excuse. Like, because when you've been fighting your whole life and you feel like you got nobody left in your corner and that the only thing you have to work on is to try and get yourself better, just to get yourself better, or to like, I don't want to be an asshole about it. I mean, it's to help other people too, because that's what my soul always felt told to do. And then it's like I realized with all my experiences, I feel like that's what I was put here to do. Like my soul signed up to come and get my butt kicked by the darkness so that I could figure out what was needed to actually help society heal. And that doesn't always look good in the physical, right? It looks crappy, and a lot of people can judge and look at my life and be like, oh. Like, I look forward to the day that I can show my vision board or like the list that I made and be like, can you guys look at this and tell me I'm not cray, please? Because they're things that work, but most people don't know it yet. And they might not make, people a lot of money, but it's something that can help people actually heal. And I recognize, like, I feel like that's what I was put here for, was to get my butt handed to me for most of my life, going through spiritual boot camp, fighting the darkness. Granted, I put myself in some of those situations, but I recognize, like, the character is built within my soul. I'm just tired now. fighting to survive as long as I can remember. I feel like I reached out to all the conventional avenues that you're supposed to reach out to, and my friends are no longer here, my family, like they know some of it, but anyway. I feel like maybe the rant's over. And like, I know Spirit helped me with my whole vision board thing, you know? And it's not gonna make I was hurting so bad that I had to find alternative things that actually work. So I started to look into things that most people are told, like, oh, that's bad, or they just don't know any better. But methods that work. You know, it's not about the suppression. It's not about going numb, but actually like helping to put the soul back together. And I just want to help other people to see it. But I recognize too that when things like this happen, and beautiful things come from higher powers and higher realms that can help with stuff like that, that sometimes initially it takes a little bit before people can actually see. It's just an isolating experience. I'm gonna keep working on it, and I'm gonna keep healing. And eventually I'm gonna make my comeback. It's a work in progress. I think I'm actually doing pretty good considering all things. Confirmation! It's my favorite sound. Can't make this stuff up. Check. And that's a cool thing too, is that I know I'm healing and I'm connecting to source, and you recognize when you hear that, like, how people say, like, that source, spirit, God is in everything. You recognize, I'm even talking about how the universe itself is mental. It's capable of feeling, it's capable of all things. The way that spirit and energy work throughout everything. And when you connect, you start to notice signs and synchronicities that will seem, however, to others, until they start to pay attention. And you start to realize that source speaks to all of us all the time. Through other people, through plants, through animals, through sounds, through frequency. That's what created the universe itself, so it makes sense that when you connect to the source directly, there's little signs and synchronicities that you start to notice. I'm grateful for that part. I feel like that's my buddy right now. That's all I got to talk to lately. For now. I'm gonna say for now. Eventually, one of these days, one of these days, I'll get out there and start making friends again or something. I struggle with that part too, though, you know? I have people that I thought were friends will not be very good to me. And when you've been through so much loss, you just get to this place where you're just like, not because I want to be that way, I feel like that's why it's important for me to heal. And I struggled getting close to people, and I kept trying to help people, but I wasn't yet healed, so I wasn't actually helping, I was enabling. It's like I'm in this place now where I spend a lot of time alone. I feel like that for years now. I feel like I just gotta get through that process, and then I will be able to assist people, because I'm actually assisting people, and not because I'm ignoring my own pain. Confirmation. And then also, like, without absorbing everybody else's, because I'm really empathetic. I can be in a room with somebody that's carrying a lot of stuff, and I feel it. I don't even have to know the person. I can walk in, and from a distance, I can feel whatever it is that they carry with them, and I've always been that way. And it's like I also like going through this awakening. Those are things that I'm starting to recognize that I've done my whole life. I'm a very, they call it, I was told it was an emotional sensitivity, but it's much more than that. When you realize that the body is an energetic body that has poles, I can feel those things from other people. I've always been able to. Plus going through lots and lots of healing from stuffs and not knowing where to go, it's been a little overwhelming. But I feel like I'm balancing out, and I realize that it's a gift and it's something that I want to use to be able to help other people to heal and recognize like what it is that's going on with them. I feel like there's an awakening that's happening. It's happening all over the world right now because it needs to. The planet's so out of balance. Whether it be, I talk about this in a lot of the other videos, from just this lifetime for most of us, or generations back to our ancestors. There's so many things that have been out of balance that we don't speak about. We don't talk about the pain. We don't talk about the truth about things that have been done throughout our collective past, how that's made us feel, how it's made us grow, the impact that it has, the weight that it has on whether it be the consciousness field, whether it be past lives, whether it be the soul. We're not actually speaking about the weight that's felt by everybody, I feel. Even though that no one will admit it, I feel like it's something that the mind may not be able to comprehend, but the soul feels. And it's conversations we've yet to start having. And I feel like those of us that are going through this process right now, or we're going through this awakening, we're having to face a lot of these things. Like, I started to go through mine. I wasn't just facing current life stuff that I went through. I started having flashes of images, whether it be the consciousness field that I tapped into, whether it was past lives, I don't know. But I started to be able to see those things. I started to be able to feel the weight of our past, of our collective past. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening to people right now, for those of us that are waking up first or going through this process where we're having to feel and remember the pain of ancestors, the pain of generations, of our bloodlines, of other bloodlines, and what's actually been the events that have transpired throughout our entire species history. And I feel like we're in a place where we need to start speaking about these things, starting with the current life and wounding that needs to be healed. Really, from like nearly all walks of life. From the bottom to the top, rich, poor, all walks of life, race, creeds, religions, or culture, we're all carrying pain. Everybody. And you got those that are sad and down, that are empathetic, that feel it on a deeper level. It's pain. You got those that act angry, and it's pain. Most people are so afraid to talk about it. But I feel like it's needed. Now, at least for me it is. And it takes more strength and more courage to actually speak about these things and say, yeah, this hurts. It's easy to be an asshole. It's easy to act like you're tough. It's harder. It takes more courage to actually speak about the way things feel, or that they hurt, or that they make us uncomfortable. I know for me, I'm just getting to a place where I don't have it in me to be. I've never been fake. It's a lot of why I spend most of my time alone. I don't have it in me to just carry that facade and just pretend like I'm something I'm not. I've never been capable of that. But I recognize too, that's why I treat it a little differently. People are like, oh, and after a while, I'm just like, fuck it. Stay inside. I'm tired of that too. But now it's like I know. Like I realize I carry a light. And I realize I'm a little bit different. And I'm working on owning it. But also learning how to keep my boundaries, because that was something that I struggled with before. And now I see. So it's like, that's good. Anyway, I feel like I got most of this ran out now. So that's nice. I feel better. That's good. This has been a work in progress. I've been going through this stuff for months. Trying to figure it out. Trying to figure out where to go and how to heal, and tried everything else. I know what I need to do. I don't even know. I just gotta get up and go maneuver and get it done. But I'm proud of myself, at least for going through a big portion of this myself. Truly trying to heal, not burdening anybody with my problems, and like I don't get angry, I don't yell at my family for them not understanding, because I can see. You know, I get why everybody reacts the way that they do. I can see the way everything transpired, how it happened, why things turned out the way I did, why I was the person that I was. I see it all. And sometimes it's a little difficult to be the person that sees it all, because you see and you want to just share that information, but not everybody's ready, willing, or able to actually sit to hear those things. So like I try and be compassionate, and I feel too that that's like why I started to get real quiet for a little while. Because just because I can see doesn't mean that they can, or that they're even wanting to. Because then you gotta sit with those things, right? And look at them. Be like, just look at it. And, you know, not everybody wants to do that. I don't know, like, I find myself being, I'm gonna stop instilling that in my field. I'm gonna start talking more. Even if it's just to myself. I'll get there. I feel like at least confirmation. Like, once I heal, then I'll be able to make friends, but for like the right reasons. It's been a very long time since I've actually made, I don't know if I know how to make friends anymore. Like I can make acquaintances and like converse with people, and I'm great at that, but to actually like make a real friend, that I haven't actually made like a brand new real friend since high school. If I'm being honest. Lots of acquaintances, maybe a little bit after, but like somebody that I was really like close to. So like I find it uncomfortable. It's hard for me to like go out and really like let people in. You know, when you've been through enough, it becomes hard to get past that. Unless like the ones I was close to, like I miss them. You know. But I'm gonna keep working on it. I'm gonna get there. Eventually. Just say we're gonna get there with stuff. I'm trying to be mindful of how I think and how I speak now. Because I recognize how important it is. I don't want to feel sorry for myself anymore, and I want to get up and I want to get going. I want to be able to do it myself. I'm gonna keep praying that it gets easier. But that's where I'm at. Anyway, rant over. I think. I don't know. Might turn this on again later. We'll see. See how it goes. I say that all the time. Anyway. Thank you, self. Self.